On 24 December 1999, Indian Airlines flight IC-814 took off from Kathmandu heading towards Delhi. The flight left with 176 passengers and 15 crew members on board. During lunch service on the plane, 5 people stood up and announced that the plane was hijacked. The passengers who had been enjoying their lunch now felt threatened and afraid. The hijacking began around 4 p.m. just as the flight entered Indian airspace. The hijackers instructed the pilot to divert the plane to Lahore, Pakistan. Indian Air Traffic Control received information about the hijacking at 4:40 p.m. Pakistani Air Traffic Control strictly denied permission to land in Lahore as the plane approached the airport. At 6:04 p.m., the Indian ATC made contact with flight IC-814. Captain Devi Sharan notified the ATC that they were running low on fuel and had not been allowed to land in Lahore by Pakistani Air Traffic Control. The hijackers did not want to land in India and threatened to harm hostages. Captain Sharan was successful to convince the hijackers that the aircraft was low on fuel and they had to land in Amritsar. At 6:44 p.m., flight IC-814 began flying towards nearest airport in Amritsar, India. On landing in Amritsar, IC-814 requested immediate refueling. At 7:45 p.m., the crisis management group formulates a plan but fails to implement. Now, suspecting these things, the hijackers pressurized Captain Sharan to take off the plane again into the sky. At 8:07 p.m., aircraft reached Lahore again. Pakistan Air Control turned on navigation aids and allowed the plane to land in Lahore. Now for negotiations, India requested a helicopter to transport the Indian High Commissioner G. Parthasarathi in Islamabad to Lahore. But the Pakistan authorities delayed 3 hours for helicopter transport of G. Parthasarathi, and the most suspicious point was that they refueled and allowed the aircraft to leave Lahore airport. Now the next stop was Al Minhad Air Base in Dubai. After a series of negotiations at around 3 a.m. the next day, hijackers released 27 passengers. Indian authorities wanted Indian commandos trained in hijack rescue to assault the aircraft, but UAE government refused permissions. The final stop was Kandahar in Afghanistan, which was under the control of Taliban at that time. After a series of negotiations, the Indian government agreed to release 3 militants in exchange for the hostages. The intention of the Taliban was under doubt, and after armed fighters surrounded the aircraft, Chief Ajit Doval claimed that the hijackers were getting active ISI support in Kandahar, meaning that their safe exit was guaranteed. However, instead of arresting the hijackers and the 3 prisoners who had been handed over to them, Taliban authorities drove them to Afghanistan-Pakistan border to Quetta in Pakistan.